An Instagram post from one of the girl-defined girls with a Nazi link has people asking questions. Nikki Tutorial has honoured a trans legend at the Met Gala, the family of a missing YouTuber have raised questions around her boyfriend, and Keemstar has called a dead woman ugly while trying to insult a large group of women. Stay classy. And it's the return of a brand new segment. All this, plus I'll show you how to steal an ice cream off a cone using a series of devious licks on this week's edition of YouTuber News. Hosted by me, Benedict and brought to you by PopBuzz, the only website that had the guts to ask Sebastian Stan if he knows what the word Stan means.
Your name is obviously Stan. That's a fact. Are you familiar with the concept of a Stan?
You know, I'm not.
And god damn it, I would do it again! Some fake typing. Our first story, and I want to give TikTok user Caspi full credit for putting this together. So you may remember a while back, Cody Ko and Noelle Miller posted an installment of their series That's Cringe, in which they covered some young ladies who went by the name Girl Defined. I think they were just like very Christian or something, a bit strange. It was a very popular video. Anyway, flash forward to the current day, and the official family Instagram account of one of the girls, Bethany, has decided to post this, which is a side-by-side with Bethany and her grandmother, and the post is saying, oh, look how much Bethany looks like her grandmother. Except if you look closely, it looks an awful lot like the grandmother is wearing the uniform of the Hitler Youth, because her grandmother lived in Austria in the 1930s. Now, when I told Amber about this earlier, she said it's amazing the grandma still fits in the uniform. I said, no, it's a photo of her young in the uniform. She thought she'd put it on as an old woman. So what with the Hitler Youth coming up, I guess it's time for everybody's favourite segment, Would You Look at That? Hi, welcome to Would You Look at That? And I'm Benedict Townsend. You may know me from YouTuber News. Now, more digging was done, and it was discovered that Bethany, aside from posting this image, had also visited her grandfather's grave in Austria a while back and took a picture with it, because what else would you do at a grave? And it turned out that he was also allegedly a Nazi. Would you look at that? And not only that, a Nazi that joined in the 1920s, so like a real early member. And apparently even served as the mayor of his town, right up until 1945, when he suddenly stopped being the mayor. I don't know what happened there. Would you look at that? Now, the thing is, you can't define someone. You can't girl define someone by what their dead grandparents did necessarily. But the posting of the Hitler Youth photo and the posting of the pic with the grave, I would say that's weird behavior. I would say maybe even verging on, and I don't like to swear on this show, but verging on sus. Now, the Instagram account is now private, in case you wanted to take a peek. But interesting, huh? Isn't that all interesting? Would you look at that? Our second story, it was the Met Gala this week, which is the annual fashion ball where everyone ignores the theme and Jason Derulo falls down the stairs. Now, there was a few internet stars in attendance. Emma Chamberlain was there. It's not much of a novelty anymore that influencers turn up, but the one person who really had heads turning and who seemed to be the only person who followed the damn theme. The theme was Americana, right? So you just turn up wearing anything even tangentially related to America, and all the celebrities said, haha, no. But the only person who even vaguely did that was Nikki Tutorials, whose outfit paid homage to activist Marsha Pay It No Mind Johnson. On Instagram, Nikki said, quote, I knew I wanted to pay homage to a trans icon who was at the forefront of the Stonewall riots. Marsha P. Johnson paved the way for so many of us, and I hope I made my community proud tonight. And on the train of the dress was stitched the phrase Pay It No Mind, which was apparently Johnson's go-to response whenever someone would question her gender or, the way she was living. So, a rare, nice story for YouTuber News. Thought I'd squeeze that in before we get on with the other depressing stories. Speaking of which, it's time for our third story, and this one is just very strange and quite dark. A YouTuber named Gabby Petito has gone missing while traveling across the US with her fiance, Brian Laundrie. And if this was a less bleak story, I would take some time talking about how Brian Laundrie is a very funny name, and there's a wealth of comedy to be made there, but not this story. And police are currently searching for her and appealing to the public for information. The couple had quit their jobs earlier this year to travel across the US in a camper van. Sounds amazing, sounds ideal. They left New York in July and they were posting about their travels on social media. But it's believed that while in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, Gabby suddenly went missing. Now, she was last physically seen checking out of a hotel in Utah on the 11th of August, and then her mother reported her missing exactly 1 month later when she could no longer get in contact with Gabby. She said, quote, the first couple of days when I wasn't getting responses, I believed she was in a place with no service. It was like day 8 or 9 that I really became concerned. Now, she says she did receive some text messages from Gabby's phone on August 26th and August 30th, but she says she doesn't actually know if they were sent by Gabby or just sent from her phone, because obviously it's just a text message. Now, this is where things take another turn, because obviously the first person you'd want to speak to help with the investigation would be Brian, her fiance, right? Brian drove the camper van back to his home in Florida, and now his parents have been preventing police from talking to him, and this has led Gabby's family to accuse Brian of, quote, refusing to help them in their search. Now, for their part, the police in Florida have seized the van and said, quote, it's possible that something very bad has happened here. She hasn't been seen for weeks, and now he's back here in Florida with the vehicle, and we've been told to speak to the family attorney. And that family attorney issued a statement saying, quote, this is an extremely difficult time for both the Petito family and the Laundrie family. I would argue perhaps more difficult for one family than the other. I understand that a search has been organized. You know, they basically said, we support the search, you know, we hope that she's found, but we're not gonna help, and we're gonna stay in the background and give no further comment. So all in all, a very strange story. I mean, hopefully there will be some kind of happy resolution to this. Gabby is said to be 5'5", she has blonde hair and blue eyes. She also has a triangle tattoo with flowers on her left arm and a Let It Be tattoo on her right arm. So if you have any information about where Gabby may be, please talk to the authorities. And finally, and this is an absolutely wild, and by wild, I mean awful story, Keemstar, who is a YouTube newsman. That's not a real person's job. An adult wouldn't do that. Keemstar came under some mild fire recently due to his age gap relationship with a 20-year-old. We mistakenly misreported as a 19-year-old, and I have again in this script written that she was 19. I don't know how many times I want to get this wrong. 19-year age gap between them, but she was 20. So I don't want anyone accidentally thinking that that was creepy in some way. Now, seemingly in response to people telling him to date women his own age, Keem tweeted, quote, you guys keep telling me to date someone my own age. Well, I googled 39-year-old woman. I will not be listening to you guys. If you remember where you were on 9/11, I'm not interested. And with that, he shared 4 images of random women. You know, he searched 39-year-old woman, posted 4 images that he found in the results, and basically the implication was that he thought those women were unattractive. To which Twitter user Daniel Emery replied, sure, the family of this poor woman will be over the moon you used her photo. You massive... See you next Tuesday. Along with a poster for one of the women whose picture Keem had shared, Adria J. Hatton. And that photo from Google Images had actually been taken from a missing poster, and that missing poster reveals that that woman was tragically found deceased. So this is a woman who went missing, died, and then Keemstar shared her photo specifically just to call her ugly. So, classy as always. What time do you make it, Amber? What time?
It's time for the outro.
Time for the outro. That's so funny because I'm checking my watch here and it says that it's time for Dan How Watch. It's time for Dan How Watch. Welcome to Dan How Watch. I'm Benedict, and what's Dan been up to this week? Well, basically it was a normal day. The sun was shining in the sky, and birds sang with delight. A sleeping man was roused to life as light extinguished night. He rose and stretched and brushed his teeth, sighed and gave a scowl. Our most beloved protagonist, the titular Dan Howell. I did a whole poem. He checked his phone and went downstairs to make a cup of tea, commenting on Instagram, rawr, XD. He found his erstwhile housemate there, chewing on some swill. An 8-foot man with frightening strength, a boxer known as Phil. Dan pulled up his jet black socks and went to check the time, when like a siren calling out, the doorbell gave a chime. Cursing this disturbance, he trotted to the door, but nothing in his emo life could prepare him for what he saw. Before him stood a harried man with terror in his eyes, a desperate stranger close to tears, a most ghostly surprise. His clothes were wet and tattered, his face as pale as snow. But for a moment, Dan did think, is this a face I know? You on board? She's loving it. We have to hurry, the stranger said. There isn't much time left. My name is Timothy Factory, and Dan, I faked my death. Wow, what an installment of Dan How Watch, everyone. Edge of your seat type stuff. And has that set a precedent that it needs to be a poem every week? No, it hasn't. You can't be asked to do that. Either way, we had fun. But with that, sadly, dear viewers, we have come to the end of another installment of YouTuber News. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Benedict Townsend, and you can catch this show every week on the YouTuber News YouTube channel and, of course, on Snapchat Discover. If you haven't already, please subscribe. The best way to do that is to hit subscribe on YouTube or by swiping up on the last snap of this story. And if you've enjoyed the show, if you've enjoyed it, maybe hit like as well. And make sure to leave us lots of comments because we love to go through them. Amber reads them all and chuckles away at her desk. Ha 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 ha. You know, some of us don't have much in their lives, and that's enough.
You read a poem about Dan Howell.
I may have written a poem about Dan Howell, but I'm still cool. Would you look at that?